Doing too much is a lifestyle at this point. Rufhead thrives off of being a busybody with a busy mind that won't let up. From the many adventures of his youth to creating video game adventures for the future youth, could tell you a lot of things about him, especially how he keeps all of his secrets away from the general public by flipping his real life to video game life. As masterful as his mind is, he is also a master of coffin filling. He knows that peace is about a bested by killing the treacherous. He was raised to take lives or be taken by two very enriched parents that knew everything about all of the worlds. You can go from a moment of thinking you can handle him to a hell of an afterlife. You've been warned. Welcome back to the Truststone era. It's Terrence Prescott Barnes, and yes, I am your favorite N-word. This characterization sheet is of Rufhead, the superhero that cannot be knocked out. Good luck, cause you will not be able to knock him out. You about to find out too. Name is Geovolt, Geo for short, Volado Gonzalez. Superpower is Hell. Fighting techniques are Wrestler and Shikai. His weapons are twin automatics, the two EV5000s, and 4 katanas, 4 soakers. They are not spirit weapons. Let me fix that real quick. His nature is neutral good. Age is 35, height is 6'3", weight is 268. His ethnicity and species is Jamaican Panamanian God. Birthplace is Mofion Zinso Gomelos of Edgemere. His occupation is the High Prince of the Gomelos Nation and a head video game developer of IATA Gaming. And IATA stands for I Am the Adventure. Birth date is March the 12th. Astrological sign Pisces. Blood type AB positive. Sexual orientation is homosexual. Overall religion is good orderly direction. Secrets. Has an affinity for painting huge pictures of vases with orcs of all kinds painted on the vases. Says the paintings help calm him from the killing sprees he enjoys a little too much. Rufhead will paint in secrecy after every major incident where he kills more than 10 people. And to elaborate on it a little bit, he tries not to kill, but he does kill. There's just some people on the battlefield that need to die in order for him to make sure that the good side of the justice system prevails. And the second secret is, has a special relationship with Pineapple Tea. Damn near has a gallon of it on a daily if he's not involved in an epilogue. Physical description, hair color is black, hair length, short crop, puffy, box fades. Facial hair is full low-cut beard. Eyes red with bright red rims. Body type is ripped wrestler type, middleweight. Skin tone is brown. Physical condition, fit like a Goliath and an assassin, equally built in strength and speed. Marks, scars, tattoos. His kind of adventuring covers his entire body and triumphing over evildoers. Most significant scar is the one below his left eye. His father told him it was a rite of passage, telling him that once he accomplishes the unspoken task, he will give him the traditional scar under his left eye. Rufhead had to fight against the Gomelos Chimera and win. It's an immortal monster that acts like the protector of the castle. Damn near 35 feet tall, with the heads of an eagle, ram, and shark, body of a behemoth that is oddly black as the space between stars. It's a murderous looking protector that has protected the castle of Gomelos for at least 927,560 years. It resides in a cavern under the castle, the one that everyone can see that looks like a giant mouth into hell. Yeah, that one. Rufhead was 17 years of age when he first heard the whispers of the Chimera. Loved seeing the Chimera in his youth protect the castle, but never heard it say his name like that. It took him 7 months for him to survive its test. When he finally survived, his father appeared and put the scar below his left eye to match his father's and the family lineage. Rufhead has a hulking tattoo covering the back of his arms and the entirety of his back. The tattoo is in the shape of his spirit animal, the Tyrannosaurus Rex. In crimson ink, the tattoo is etched from his wrist to the other wrist, comprised of many Tyrannosaurus Rex heads. Then his back has one with arms that are more proportioned to a Tyrannosaurus Rex's body. His clothing. usually in digital wear. It's a solid black skin tight outfit that acts like the underwear to power suits. This helps him get in and out of his costume mighty quickly because the material allows for any kind of material to slide on quickly. With all of his costumes being skin tight, real skin tight, this makes it easy for him. The digital wear acts like scuba wear in a sense, but has nanotech that allows for the suit to screen whatever message, emblems, or pattern he puts into the program. So it's like you know how marquees look at movie theaters and the construction sites and billboards and things like that. That's what digital wear is. Now some people, they have the underwear. That's just the underwear to their costumes, but that is also full body suit. But his is specific digital wear because he banks a lot making them video games, and he's already rich because he's the high prince of the Gomelos nation, and that'll be explained later on too. But he wears a mask whenever he's in full costume. When he's not out being the hero everyone loves him to be, he is usually in paradise clothing. His favorite article of clothing is a hoodie that matches Sir Sworn and Echoes, a rainbow-colored hoodie with a black background. The pattern of it is diagonal across the entire print that mirrors the back. Then the rest of the fabric is black except for the simple arched rainbow on the back of the hood. The three of them bought these hoodies when they were 30 years old. Lastly, his royal garments tend to be fully dressed to casually dressed. Royal situations require him to be fully clothed with no skin showing but his dome and hands. Other times he is seen with his guns out. The royal garments of Gomelos are crimson gold, red, and black. Same colors that are used on a country's flag. Same colors can be seen on his crown as well. His crown is in the shape of a single 3-inch ring. The banner on it is a blend of crimson on the bottom to red on the top with black fluffy cush fabric and crimson gold metal in the Gothic pattern that's the same as the garments. His crown has one single diamond shaped ruby to identify its center. Rufhead always puts the ruby facing forward and always wears his crown when in royal garments because his parents asked him to when he was a child. Moving along to the personality. His likes: Sir Sworn, Echoes, Usir. His parents: enjoying, celebrations, parties, music, dancing. Being powerful, some destruction here and there. Martial arts, the lives of super beings, fellow heroes. Dislikes: tyranny, evil dictators, villains, disturbing the peace, and Usir. Fears: losing either Sir Sworn or Echoes, especially Echoes since he's not a god. Hobbies: sparring with his parents, sparring with his lovers, power training, sword fighting, tactical training, video game designing, writing, drawing, adventuring, physical activities, thrill chasing, partying, and celebrating at will. Goals: live to see the day he is anointed as the High King of the Gomelos nation. Occupation: the High Prince of the Gomelos nation of Edgemere and head video game developer of IMD Adventure Gaming. Let me correct something real quick. Favorite food: all. Least favorite food: none. Most prized possession: there's a city in the Luigi dimension called Monster City, a whole area where humans do not try to mess with, but a great place for warriors to get experience with killing monsters. When Rufhead, Echoes, and Sir Sworn were vacationing after another epilogue, they decided to go to Luigi for leisure, but inadvertently said screw that. Instead of relaxing their forever working muscles, they decided to change already paid for plans to go hike through Monster City. Monster City is the size of Arkansas State, almost exactly the square mileage. They decided to go the long route from southwest to northeast, hitting up all safe zones managed by militia with scientists that forever survey Monster City. They were having so many balls and slaying so many monsters while avoiding close calls. When they got to Mount Orange, there was a cliff where Echoes pulled out a Polaroid camera and had one of the park rangers take a shirt of the three of them. Let me fix that. Take a photo of the three of them. All of them were shirtless with huge smiles on their heads as the sunset was caught to the far right of them. Their faces were very well lit and Rufhead was in the center. He keeps the picture in his digital pack at all times and looks at it often whenever he's traveling or far without them. Vernacular, Incubus version of Jeffrey Gonzalez. Aptitude, IQ equals 167, equally book smart and street smart. Brain leans towards creativity, math, design, art, literature, and violence. Rufhead grew up in a very ruffian way, per his family's wishes to keep him toe the line with protecting his neck while he was on his ventures. Was an urban legend by the time he was 11 in Edgemere simply because he loved the battlefield that much. Because of being allowed to venture as a child, his imagination didn't stifle one bit. He knew the ins and outs of adventuring personally. Writing the stories he created and kept secret for years allowed him to buy his way into the video gaming industry. Psychological condition. When he was 21, he got knocked out during a brawl. In that situation, they got the best of him and he didn't go down without a fight. But the scavengers took whatever they could, then left him. He lost an important gift to his parents that day, then got so furious the existence reality control panel came up and he furiously ignited it into the realm of invulnerabilities. Now, guides, like I've explained before, the existence and reality control panels for guides, where they can do everything they want to. It's still a debug control panel where they have to move through everything, move through the whole list to figure out what they really want to do, and it takes a lot of time to do that. But moving right along, Rufhead made it so that he is rendered TKO-less. Just that, nothing more or less. He had a long way to go until he found that ability. Just the ability to never be knocked out again, even coherently. Even when rendered unable to physically react, he will have a sense of being able to respond coherently, even if he's under plenty of rubble, all because he felt shame for losing an important high-dollar gift he was going to give his parents. It took him plenty of years to get over that, but nowadays he's completely sane. The item was a voodoo doll or one of the many warlords that like to live in the shadows and attempt wreaking havoc around Edgemere. Lord all time, despicable monster. Rufhead moved heaven and hell with Sir Sworn Echo, Shaveta, and Gatos to get that voodoo doll created. Rufhead was unfortunately heading home alone when it was stole from him, but came out of being knocked unconscious a stronger man. To the point he turned into a one-man army and went directly after Lord all time because he thought his minions were the ones that jumped him. They were not. He was just jumped by some scavengers. Regardless of the fakes, Rufhead destroyed a tyrannical spirit of many millennia. He was going to hand the voodoo doll to his parents so they can assume the position of handing out justice. Yet, justice was served when he destroyed Lord all time his damn self. Character behavior, smooth, ludicrous, saucy, hilarious, ain't shit, and dangerous. Relationships. So, this is going to be very long-winded, alright? Because he has 3 of them. Ysir, the kid from one of the biggest rival families of the Gomelos nation, is a very interesting love interest of Rufhead's. Back when they were 7 years old, Rufhead went on an adventure. Because his face wasn't known to the general public yet, he was everywhere with about 6 elite knights that had superb stealth abilities. Rufhead was safe on all accounts, but he ran into Ysir at the Shifting Lands, a huge plain where the desert meets the grasslands. It was a common landscape where huge cubes of earth move in specific patterns for specific parts of the year. It was spring. The huge cubes moved in a conveyor belt fashion where they rose and descended on their way across the entirety of the plain, from the northwest to the southeast. When the huge cubes met the end of the plain, they would descend all the way and move underground back to the starting point. It's like a fun little platform pandemonium thing that gets super beings prepared for jumping in high capacities. Not always dangerous, but could still lead to someone losing their life, even guides. Although there's an underground waterfall in the center of it that leads down to a paradise of gemstones below. The fall is very far, but the magic at the bottom of it keeps anyone from pitfalling to their death. Rufhead was allowed to do so, but before the 6 knights were going to go invisible again, Ysir saw them talking with Rufhead. The knights weren't dressed so that Ysir could identify them as knights. He just thought the kid had some kind of superpower. They talked for a little bit as Rufhead said it was his first time there. Ysir said he knows some safe routes. Let me correct that real quick. Ysir said he knows the safe routes All too well. Yep. Alright, so like I said before, I have a problem with making the wrong words plural and the other ones not. Sorry. Yusir said he knows the safe routes all too well. So they waited for a specific set of cubes to come their way so they could ride underneath from the southeast to northwest. Yusir knew of a specific puzzle so they could get into a cube and watch from the side of one that faces the northeast. The two kids talked the entire ride across the shifting lands, seeing the pinpoint what a waterfall that falls from the ozone layer hits all of the gemstones below. So, one of the things about the Troutstone era is I made up this thing when I was in, I think, the 5th grade or 6th grade. It was one of them, and I made up this place called the Underground Waterfall, which is a waterfall that falls from the ozone layer and goes all the way down, and it's a straight line and it's magical, so that the rotation of the planet and the winds never alter it, and it's a very huge waterfall, so the diameter of it, the radius of it is very large, and it always falls and goes underground for a long period of time. And in Edgemere is where the underground waterfall lives in this universe, and it falls like a very far distance down underground, right? And wherever it stops, it's always landing on gemstones, and it creates this underground system of rivers across the entire planet and whatnot. But moving right along, first time seeing its beauty and first friend he made on his own was a special moment for Rufhead. Since then, the two would randomly meet up on his adventures, building a bond with a friendly stranger, until he was about to turn 10. That's when his identity would be ousted, unfortunately by a jealous Yusir, when Rufhead met Sir Sworn. The jealousy he had ended up making their relationship like arch nemesis. The knights didn't know that the House of Zoang had a son nearly at the same time as the House of Gonzalez. Over time, the jealousy would fade, but it would lead to a love-hate relationship kind of ordeal, because Rufhead would never forget how Ysera made him feel over the many adventures they had as kids. Sir Sworn. Rufhead and Sir Sworn met on the western triangular island of Zekri, along with a plethora of other heroes and villains that would be constants in their lives. The event was called the Tens Tournament, where 10-year-olds test their might across the entirety of Edgemere. The tournament was set up so that it's literally a test. No winner by defeating other contenders, just a test of might, where all of them would try to access their superpowers before puberty, test their vessel, and handle some light obstacles. It was set in bouts of a 6-contender free-for-all when Rufhead was first up. He was in a group with Sir Sworn. They were next to each other in the hexagon. The first task was to teleport 6 times to the center point of the arena. Point values are highest for balancing on things for 10 seconds before moving to the next spot. Rules stating that none of them can teleport straight to the center, but they can teleport within anywhere of the targeted area. There were plenty of places they could teleport and stand balancing on things with 1 or 2 feet for 10 seconds. The first child with 10 seconds closest to 60 seconds of the 7 teleports would get the highest time value tallied up with where they balanced. The targeted area looked massive if you were in it, and because of so many variables, no kid could strategize more than the other because of the many viewpoints. Yet, Rufhead waited for Sir Sworn to teleport, then teleported beside him so he could tell him to teleport to his hands and trade off until their last teleport. Rufhead and Sir Sworn won their first rounds with about the same point value. Because of that, their partnership began to develop as the two of them won the Tens tournament of that day, with Ysir being in third place. Ysir had a hard time getting through to Rufhead after those two met. Ysir's jealousy got in the way of their relationship. Unfortunate for him, because he couldn't handle his childhood emotions, his actions pushed Rufhead to liking Sir Sworn more, ultimately making little birds out of 2 11-year-olds. Echoes. Echoes came into Rufhead's life when they were 13. When Echoes was finally getting his adventure chops in Edgemere, he was inadvertently added to a huge epilogue. The insane eggs were doing their thing thizzle with trying to acquire more power so they can take their lives out of the unmanned galaxies to a manned galaxy and claim grounds on one of the planets by eliminating a prime minister or three. A lot of heroes were doing their thing thizzle with trying to stop them from acquiring massive amounts of destructive and creating creative weapons from all dimensions in the real world. At one point, all of the heroes were on Haveli Island of Wonderville. They were camping a good distance away from the insane eggs. The heroes needed to rest, wash their attire, and themselves. In schedule, Echoes went to go shower first. He was under a waterfall and a little dig under it, just relaxing his muscles from all of the fighting that had occurred. Yeah, definitely need to go back to school. Had occurred since day one. Then there came Rufhead and Sir Swan, who went under the waterfall as they watched up too. They started making out while Echoes silently enjoyed relaxing. That oddly turned into the three of them making out and having and doing what hormones do. Ever since then, the three of them have been inseparable and have been coming up with very incredulous ways of placing power on their vessels. Both Rufhead and Sir Swan have adored Echoes since that day under that waterfall. Social and other pressure problems? None really. He is fascinatingly easy, going for a high prince who is destined for the throne. He has been humble since his adventuring days where he was forced to never speak of his identity since no one knew what he looked like in his kingdom, let alone the entirety of Edgemere. Yet, because of his first 7-year-old adventure, he was put on blast because he kind of saved multiple realms on the adventure he was on. Because he was a gentle kid, never overbearing or on the verge of using his title to get something, the nation revered him as a good guy before truly learning his identity. Beliefs and morals. I am the adventure. Everybody suffers consequences. Everybody. Parents always loved on him and reminded him that every God can be changed. Positive characteristics. Combat ready at all times, like literally. When he got jumped and he lost that voodoo doll, he was like, nah, he is always ready to fight after then. Always up for a good laugh, always up for a good story, always up for meeting a stranger, always up to see who's the mightiest. Negative characteristics. In certain situations, his natural incubus ways can deter people from fully paying attention. He has to always keep an eye on getting too comfortable around people in serious situations. Otherwise, he's going to be talking to everyone like he's an intoxicating game show host, and he won't know it unless he catches himself. Happens more often than he wishes. And then the background and current information. Origin, Gonzalez made the cut. Birthplace, Mophions and so, Gomelos of Edgemere. Family, Esula, Oim, Rechuzo. Mother, elder ages of the goddesses. 4,567 years old. Oh, let me change that real quick because I started doing it a few years ago. Well, if somebody is a king, then king will be before their first name. So that means I need to go all the way up there and put Prince in front of his name. And I did not do that for Galtos, and I am not right for doing it. And I need to go update his characterization sheet. Well, moving right along. King Niseruk Dogeti Gonzalez. Father, elder ages of guys, 4,566 years old. History, 35 years ago, elder guys Esula and Niseruk finally decided to procreate. Had the whole of Edgemere Torah with celebrations that two of the more benevolent guys decided to extend their throne. For many millennia, they haven't made kids, but somehow have kept their heads on and the throne safe throughout all of the wars of the other nations and anyone wanting to lead the land of Gomelos. In order to make sure their child had a safe childhood, they created clones of him that grew up with him but never met him, so he could do anything he desired. Geovolt decided to be an adventurer, but kept his identity safe majority of his youth until he turned 10, and he met the young Sir Swan. Damn near immediately told him that he was the Prince of Gomelos. Because Sir Swan was a fellow good guy, he never put Geovolt in harm's way. Instead, acted like one of his knights and went on a current adventure with him. Oddly, Geovolt made great decisions despite him always having a detail that never looked the same. He was in and out of reality as well as the kingdoms, building up might and always playing telephone with his parents when he's not at home. His youth was glorious, but he hit puberty and it all shifted in a major way because he already had Sir Sworn, who became his boyfriend eventually, but met Echoes, then Echoes got pulled into the relations. From then on, the three of them were doing so much, they were becoming urban legends by the time they were 16. Prior to meeting the two loves of his life, his adventure began when he was 7 when he met Ysir, another love of his life. But circumstances of him meeting Sir Sworn changed that because Ysir got jealous instead of increasing the land he had on Rufhead's heart. Regardless of missing his opportunity to permanently be in Rufhead's life, the four of these warriors were deemed high commodities around all of the dimensions by the time they were 16. From Ysir hitting level 5 to Sir Sworn hitting level 5 to Echoes hitting level 5 and Rufhead hitting level 5. They were the urban legends their parents and guardians always wanted them to be. The parenting behind these four had them lined up for the future in so many paths that regardless of any choice they made from 17 onward would result in them permanently being in history books. Because of their four-boy bond that oddly wasn't broken by Ysir always yearning to be the only one that could kiss Rufhead, they did the unthinkable. When Rufhead and Sir Sworn and Ysir finally decided to live in the real world, the divide between Rufhead and Ysir made them arch nemesis, all because they both wanted to use their imagination to make up video games. Rufhead created I Am the Adventure Gaming, IATA Gaming for short, while Ysir created You and I Gaming, where he used an emblem of a hand pointing forward inside of an eye to capitalize in the gaming industry. These two were going against each other so hard with their powerful imagination of turning their life events in Edgemere into folklore video games of massive proportions. Head to head for a decade and some change had the both of them being monoliths for Imagination Land and gaming in general. They were so against each other that whenever they branched off from fantasy video games to sporting video games to puzzle video games to MMORPG games had them buzzing from then till now. In the end, Ysir's jealousy and manipulation of targeting hopeless romantics helped him sell more of his products than Rufhead has. They were always pitted against each other, even when they debuted games at different times of their careers. In the end, Ysir's records say that he has sold 100,500 units more than Rufhead, even though they are both constantly involved in magazines, blogs, video blogs, interviews, and gaming expos. Don't get it twisted. Rufhead has a fandom that will extend even a normal human's lifespan for hundreds of years. His imagination alone proves why he is always difficult to best on the battlefield. The one thing Ysir can't beat him in is his video game that he made in light of his alter ego, Hell of an Adventure, a series with about 12 installments over his career, where his 13th installment will be released before the epilogue of the Crimson Collective. In total, Ysir has outsold him altogether, but Hell of an Adventure has more units sold than any of their titles. Besides, with Rufhead being as famous of a superhero as he is no wonder why HOAA, Hell of an Adventure, HOA is commonly yelled by groups of fans as if they are enlisted in the U.S. Army. If I could talk right. Home. Blackness Castle RX. It's the blackest castle around this universe. It has a hexagonal foundation with specific built buildings, so the protector of it can move around easily while destroying opposing armies. It sits atop a massive cliff that has an underside that looks like a mouth to hell, and grasslands and vines are green as all outdoors, but looking into that giant 30-foot gaping cavern will put the fear into any man or woman. The matte blackness of the gaping cavern is the same color the entire castle is. It's like looking at the perfect nightmare, but with how often the nation of Gomelo celebrates, it's hard to compare the castle to the gaping cavern. The formation of buildings from the front to the back act like a mountain. The middle section of the castle has the highest structures and towers. The barricade wall of the hexagon is half a mile long on all 6 walls, so that the throne is massively protected. Then the Quintado Laura. This spaceship belongs to the King and Queen of Brazil Zero, Echoes, and Painaja. It's the ship that belongs to the entire nation, and those two are the captains. Because of Rufhead's relationship to Echoes, he has a room specifically built for teleporting to the spaceship and residing in the spaceship. The spaceship is the largest size a spaceship can be, the size of the moon. It has high-class defenses and offenses, but backed up either by the mage power of Echoes or Painaja. makes it worlds different than any battleship. It looks like a giant rectangle and colored to specifically look like the flag of Brazil. It's impossible to take it into a planet's surface because it's so big. All pilots have avoided for millennia of even getting close to planets. It is always on the space highways and never deviates from its course. All of its small spaceships are docked to the underside of it because that's where all of the docking bays are. It has a high gravitonium base that keeps everything from crashing to it faster than 300 miles per hour. It's a defense mechanism that that also keeps blasts from being as damaging as they are as well. In actual, let me take that out. In actuality, the Cantado Laura has rarely been attacked because it's a spaceship that holds no treasures or fruits. Besides, most national spaceships have defense mechanisms of gods and goddesses. Trying them will get anyone obliterated. Due to Echoes or Pinaja usually being on it, its power level is of a celestial being and shouldn't be tried at any capacity. If both of them are on it, the banner and the stars of the flag will glimmer intensely. If Pinaja is on it, the stars will only glimmer intensely. If Echoes is on it, the banner will only glimmer intensely. Then, possessions, the EV-5000s. This model of fully automatic tactical firearms have a huge lifespan and help keep Rufhead alive. Since he's a hero that is usually behaving like a gun for hire, the live ammo of it all makes him detrimental to plasma or light shields. Live ammo is meant to kill in this universe. It pierces plasma and light shields easily, versus having plasma or energy ammo that is meant to incapacitate people. Higher forms can drain a vessel of their life force. Yet, because live ammo uses casings, Rufhead uses ghost ammo, the kind with casings that disappear once the live ammo has been used. The actual ammo itself doesn't disappear because it's actual metal. The EV-5000 act like submachine guns. He can easily wield two at once, and technology reloads them upon his commands. He will more than likely use a digital ammo pack with a long chain of ammo. He rarely uses magazines, but they can be easily handled because of the digital ammo pack. He doesn't use magazines because his submachine guns have long slashing blades for close combat fighting. It's easier for him to not reload because of the ammo chain, so he can slash and pull the trigger to a strategic content. The EV-5000s are solid black with red accents to match his costumes. Pets, none. And finally to the abilities. Physical. There was a time that Rufhead took too much damage on the battlefield, during a time where godless enchanted weaponry poisoned him past his skin. If he would have died, he would have died. To save his life, the godless enchanted poison was affecting Sir Sworn and Echoes, yet the two of them kneeling over an almost lifeless Rufhead healed him because of the love between the three. Ever since then, his healing factor has been at maximum, making him a quiet ninja samurai type of tank. His defenses are not to be taken lightly. He has the hand-to-hand combat to make him seem more defended. Now, when it comes to his fighting techniques, Wrestler and Shikai are considered his top-tier techniques, but has dabbled in all fighting techniques except for the following: Hapkido, Leopard, Eagle, Jumping, and Sambo. Alright. Before I get to the magical, I do have to say something about live ammo versus plasma and light shields. So, if you played Halo, the game, with the way that game is set up, the plasma and the plasma ammo, the energy ammo is what you use to take down the shields, right? And the live ammo is the ammo that does the most damage physically. So that's how you kill people. You take down the plasma shields, then you use the live ammo to kill them. In this universe, live ammo says fuck plasma and energy shields. It goes through the motherfuckers easily. So if you want to kill somebody, live ammo is still the way to go, and yeah, 8124. But moving back to the magical. Fire mastery. From the start of a spark to a building-sized fireball, his fire mastery can set all materials on fire and burn at a ×3 rate. Lava mastery. One of his favorite scare tactics revolves around using a stream of lava to help him remember his way out of a facility or zone. If I can talk right, doing this requires great amounts of energy, but he doesn't mind. He is a level Omega super being after all. But to make matters worse, he can make streams of lava originate out of thin air, sometimes provoking small waterfalls of lava. Dark mastery. He has vivid enough eyes he can see in the dark without much of a hitch. This allows him to ruin enemies' sense of sight so he can take advantage of firearm fights or general use of surprise. In turn, he can hit someone with dark energy and make that person be the only one that loses their full capacity of sight. Projectile mastery. His projectiles come in the form of flames, throwers, orbs, chunks, and beams. Varying from the power behind fire, lava, and darkness, he will shoot projectiles out of his hands from time to time, but he would rather imbue his katanas and ammo with elemental energy versus using projectiles. In situations where he'd rather ration his ammo, he will summon a huge hell fireball that gives the most sinister sound effect of a missile dropping through the sky. And that fireball from him is about as big as a blimp. And then you have flight. Comes with the superpower of hell. He can fly in all directions like hummingbirds. Reality and mental distortion mastery. Insane prison in the mental state type of effects, ranging from minute, shaky images to full-on feeling like someone is in hell. So, there was this show, I think it was called Winx on Netflix, and one of the girls had light as her magic, her natural born magic, and her mother came through, which is the queen of one of the light worlds, or what a light kingdom in the fairy world, and her power was so big with light that she changed the entire atmosphere to what she wanted it to look like. So in that sense, that's what reality and mental distortion mastery does. He can make the make-believe world of hell appear in the entire atmosphere. Then there's matter enchantments. He can grab an object, preferably a weapon, and imbue it with fire or turn the entire weapon into fire for an allotted amount of time. He can also grab someone's hand and an object so that person can wield the enchanted matter as long as they desire or the power of the enchantment runs out. In a lot of cases, if he's by himself, he will enchant several objects of a room before it's swarmed with enemies so he can create a matter obstacle storm. In a lot of cases, he does not have to touch said objects in order to enchant them to float to his bidding, but he does have to touch objects to imbue them with fire. Immortality. Hell as a superpower involves the eternal damnation of being tortured, part of the make-believe phenomenon. Rufhead can only choose when he dies unless he is killed by a godless enchanted weapon. Any other time, he behaves like any elder god of 1,000 years of age. Even if he's beheaded, obliterated, or lost in space, the only way to kill him is with the godless enchanted weaponry or using psychic abilities to warp his mind to making him verbally say, "I accept death." He has been close to this many of times, which is why his mask is now made out of anti-psychic material that also works against hypnotism powers. Interdimensional teleportation. Because of his god blood, he can teleport between dimensions once every hour. Otherwise, he would have to use one of their natural ways of teleporting between worlds. Incubus mode. In incubus mode, his eyes will glow a very special reddish magenta color while his voice hums at a very baseful frequency. Voice will soothe any eardrums into doing what he desires, forcing them to be compelled to do his bidding. The eyes act like the hypnotism focus, with the voice rendering them into a deep trance that lasts for several hours to days, depending on how much power he puts behind his incubus mode, as well as making his pheromones turn universal to the point he smells as intoxicating as a buffet. That's more overwhelming than the actual sense of food. The pheromones affect men and women, proving that he has a triple effect of getting people to do what he wants. Or wants. Transformation. Devil form. Wing type dragon. Wingspan 15 feet. Horn length 13 inches. Forward crescents with a curve. A set. Take that out. Oh, a set. A set means multiple horns. So he has times 3 sets of horns, making him have 6 horns. Horn colors: bright red. Tail length 13 feet. Tail ornament: rows of protruding fans. Colors: reds. Form: dragon devil type. Weaknesses: heaven as a superpower is his main weakness. The holy energy decreases all of the infernal might Rufhead possesses. Other weaknesses involve water, light, sorcery, magistry, hexing, and craft. Anything possessing light connotations is very harmful to hell wielders. And that is all of Rufhead as of now. Sorry I had to make some edits, but you know, comes with the territory sometimes. Even though I've been writing basically most of my life, there are some things, if I don't see them often enough, I will forget. And it has happened in the past, like when I was working at Loomis, and they have these things called echoes, and it's not echoes, it's eco. It's an ecosystem for people who have phones they don't want anymore, they don't work, they take it to the eco thing, and it'll value the phone and give them money for it in exchange. And I kept calling the machines echoes, and I was like, wow, I'm always not littering, I don't drive my car a lot, I don't do anything that's harmful to the planet, right? I try to have a very small carbon footprint, and I was saying eco so wrong for so long, and then I was like, oh, I am dumb. It took me 3 months to realize I was saying echo, not eco. But sometimes that happens when I type up these characters and whatnot. But for the most part, I try to use more common words, cause I'm not one of those writers or creators that try to use big, huge, super words and whatnot, because that's not how my world works, and I don't want anybody else's world to work that way. The only time you should be using big words like that is if you're working in a dictionary, you're working as a professor, an instructor, somebody shooting documentaries and things like that. That's the only time I think people should be using big words, and playing board games where you have to use words to make points. But Rufhead is all great. He doesn't have a problem that I have where I forget words and shit. He is making video games, and he has a lovely life in the real world, a lovely life in Edgemere, all because of how powerful he is. But I'm gonna go on about my business. You go on about your business, and soon enough you will be seeing character designs of the first 15 of the Crimson Collective in Chapter 1. Mwah.